Hey, what is going on, guys? Hope you're having a fantastic Sunday and Father's Day to all my fathers out there. Hope you guys had a great day with your family. I know I did. And Ryan had a nice little relaxing day with his family as well. We do not have our partner, Jonathan, so he's actually spending time.
Us.
He's being a good father as well.
We're not.
What he's doing. We had a great time earlier with our family. So they were like, "Hey, we still doing the AV experience?" I went, "Yeah, I'm good to do it." So Ryan's like, "I have no life, so yeah, I can do it."
Yep.
Oh,
That's
man.
me.
Well, we are super pumped, man. Glad you guys are here. We'll say hi to some folks in the chat in just a second. Getting ready for M-Wave. We'll talk about that a little bit. Of course, if you got questions, drop those in the chat. That's pretty much what we'll be doing tonight. Just answering your questions and giving you some updates on M-Wave. We're excited about that. We are really, really close to that happening. Only 24 days. You ready, Ryan?
No.
He will be. He will be the last day of M-Wave. He'll be ready.
That's usually what happens. The last day of the event, I'm like, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I know
ready.
it, man. No, it's going to be sweet, dude. But we're excited, man. We got people registering every single day. Had some come in today. So Midwest AV Experience, we'd love to have you join us right around the corner, July 14th through the 16th. It's going to be amazing in the Kansas City Convention Center this year. And then just the next month, I'll be up at, and I think Ryan will be too, we'll be in South Carolina?
North Carolina
with Audio Advice Live.
Yep. I just booked my flights today.
Great event there. So a lot of folks going to be there. They just put on a really, really great show. So that's over on the East Coast. And so if you're close to that and you can't get to M-Wave, absolutely would love to have you out there. They're just some good people. So we're going to have fun, man. But would love for you to join us for M-Wave. It's super, super cool. This year is definitely turning out to be way bigger than last year as far as the experiences we're able to offer, the brands that are going to be there, and even our attendance is a lot larger than last year. Actually, we've pretty much over doubled what we had last year, which is super cool, man. So let me say hi to some folks in the chat. Good to see you, Joe. Mark, what is going on? Happy Father's Day as well. Finster, Chris is in the house. Jed, good to see you. SRW 1000. I'll hit that question or comment in a second. Randy, good to see you, Charlie. K-Man's in the house. Danny, C. Goddard, Devin, Bruce is in the house. LBM, good to see you. JD the Expert, what is happening, man? Mosen, Pedro, Bendick, lots of folks in the chat, man. We're gonna have some fun tonight. So if you got questions, like I said, whether it's home theater or just whatever related, just drop those in the chat, and we'll be starring those through the show, answering as many as we can, hanging out with you guys, and just having some fun, man. So let's go ahead and jump in.
I don't think we have any questions yet.
That's okay. So SRW 1000, enjoyed your video today. The only reason I can think of for going to theaters anymore is to avoid spoilers from people that have seen a movie. That is so true. It's really hard in the days of internet and social media to not, even when you're not looking for spoilers, they come looking for you. And so it's really hard to kind of get away from that sometimes. So sometimes the best thing is to go ahead and go see the movie. So in context, what he's referring to, Jessica and I, just 2 days ago, we watched Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and excellent movie. My son has been raving about that movie for a long time. And he said, "Dad, you need to see this." So I bought the movie, I bet 6 months ago, and it's been in my drawer, never used it. And so the other day, Jessica said, "Hey, you said you have that new Spider-Man movie, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, the new one came out." And she said, "Well, we probably ought to watch the first one before we go see the new one." I went, "Okay, cool. Let's do it." So we watched the first one in our theater room. Loved it. Sounded phenomenal. Dolby Atmos. The surrounds were engaged. The cinematics, the story, just very, very well done. And so the very next day, or maybe 2 days later, we go to our local cinema to watch Across the Spider-Verse, and had high expectations. My son said, "Dad, this one," I didn't think they could do it, but Across the Spider-Verse exceeds Into the Spider-Verse. And I'm like, cool, this will be great. So we go with pretty much high expectations. it wasn't good. It just wasn't a good experience. And I think that our enjoyment or lack of enjoyment from the movie doesn't necessarily reflect the movie itself. It was the experience that we had there. And there were so many distractions that I just don't think we were capable of enjoying any movie, no matter what it was going to be. So I definitely want to buy it, get it in my home theater or borrow my son's or whatever, but I'll probably end up buying it because everybody raves at it. They said, this thing is amazing. So I definitely want to see it again in my home theater, but we posted a video today and it was Jessica's idea. She comes up with these ideas every once in a while. She's like, you know what? We should do like a top 10 reason.
She wanted to rip on it.
Yeah. It mostly just like, she's like, your theater room's better, you know? And we just had so many different things in that movie experience. So she kind of wrote down her top 10 reasons why it's better to have a home theater at home. I wrote down mine, and then we just kind of did a little back and forth video, and we only got 2 of them that were the exact same, but it was pretty cool to hear some of the things that she picked up on that frustrated me were more on the technical side of it. And I really wasn't expecting her to see that and it bother her. So that was pretty cool, man.
What was her most bothersome thing?
She saw the vertical lines in that screen. It was weird, Ryan. I've never
She's not used to seeing them in your theater yet. I thought she would have been used to it, watching so many movies in your theater.
No, she sees a single.
Michael doesn't have any vertical lines in his theater.
Dude, there is a single sheet of fabric in mine. I think they had vertical fabric, like 1, 2, 3. It was like 4 pieces that made this thing up, and there was 3 or 4 vertical lines. I'm going, that is the weirdest thing. And then I was seeing this reflection. I think it was behind the screen. I couldn't tell what it was, and I'm looking around going, what is that? And it just, you would only see it in bright scenes. Dark scenes, you couldn't see it. So I'm thinking, okay, that's when the projector is putting out the most light. Therefore, it's reflecting whatever is either behind the screen or on the screen, but I think it was behind the screen. But yes, it just wasn't a good experience. So I really think, and we didn't get a chance to see it in Dolby Cinema or IMAX. I like the Dolby Cinema, but it's been out for a while now. So they had moved it to a smaller room, kind of one of the more, they still had height channels. They had 4 height channels up there. So, those were fine, but dialogue wasn't all that great in it. So just a lot of things. There was no bass, not much. So I'm like, man, I get a lot better experience at home. So, but anyway, so yeah. But if you guys haven't seen it, I've heard it's amazing. But yeah, man. Cool. Lots of folks in the chat saying, Bruce, you guys are cracking me up, man. Yeah, John. All right. So Jonathan doesn't say much sometimes, but when he does, you just sit there and listen because it's like he drops some knowledge, man. So that's pretty cool. What else we got in here?
Can you see the comments this time?
Yeah,
like last week.
That was so weird, guys. Yeah, last week it was weird because I thought we were done with all the starred comments. There's 6 starred right now, and I'm like,
there's 30 left.
Heck? Yeah, I'm like, all right, guys, y'all have a good night. And Ryan's like, we got some stars. I'm like, dude, I'm not seeing any. It was the bizarre thing.
He just wanted to go home.
Okay, Chris, I have no idea what you're asking. You keep skirting this, youth man. So I'm putting you on the spot. What bites are you looking forward to in KC next month? Honestly, I have not looked at any of the restaurants in Kansas City at all.
McDonald's.
Yeah, the barbecue that I've tried there, we ate at a couple places. Jack's Stack ate there. That was delicious. There was another one I've eaten at. Probably eaten about 2 or 3 there. Dude, they're all amazing. They're different, Some of them, they just cook it different. But, dude, I like some barbecue. But, yeah, honestly, man, food is not on my priority list. It's making sure everybody's having a good time. Everything
for us, it's a lot of fast food when we're there. We don't get a lot of time to do much of anything.
Yeah. Oh, great question. All right. So, Bruce. So, I think that's why Jonathan isn't here tonight, honestly.
He had to go to the hospital. He lost his arms.
So last week at the end of the live stream, I don't even know how it came up, but
you guys were both talking mad game about being able to do it, though.
I was close, though. All right. So here's the thing. So at the end, we started talking about push-ups, and I said, I think I can do 50. I'm just guessing. I haven't done push-ups in a long time. I'm like, I think I could probably knock out 50. And I said, Jonathan, what about you? He's like, I don't know, man. I have no idea. Ryan's like, I ain't even trying it. My arms are too long. That is not my jam. So I told Jonathan, I said, I tell you what, let's both of us Scouts honor. We'll hit it.
And I asked to clarify the record that was in a row, not in stop.
100%. Yeah. 100%. So I knocked out 46 and a half. I think it was either 46 and a half or 47 and a half. And I gave it everything I had. And when I went halfway up, dude, I just collapsed to the floor. So that was all I had. So I got
like One Punch Man. His arms were clicking and clacking as he was doing the sit-ups or push-ups.
Legit. Yeah. I mean, it was, I'm like, I'm not going to give up. Because sometimes, you get tired and you're just like, I'm done. No, I'm like, I'm going to go as far as I can. And so it was like 46 point something. So I texted Jonathan and Ryan. I said, hey, man, how many push-ups you get? I got 46 and a half. He said, oh man, I didn't get that far. And I forget what it was, 30 or 40 something.
I did 50 in my sleep.
He said, but I did take a break and I was able to do the rest of them. And I went, oh, well, I've been sitting for a while. Let me go see how many I can do after a break. So I did as many as I could. And I think I cranked out like another 35 or so after that. So all in all, I did almost 75 in probably like a 30-minute span.
Yeah, after the video, I just went downstairs and ate cake pops.
Oh man. But yeah, so I appreciate you asking, Bruce. But it was a lot of fun, man. It was I know how bad I need to get my butt back into the gym. And yeah. See, Zombie said that his theater with budget equipment is better than their AMC experience. Yeah, this was an AMC theater as well. Like I said, it just wasn't a Dolby Cinema. But yeah, man, that's part of the goal. I mean, when you build out your own home theater, even if you're not spending a fortune, you don't have a mega $1 million home theater, is just building it to where it at least is kind of on par with your local cinema, if not better. Because then at that point, you really enjoy staying home with your family and friends and just, watching it in your own setup. Bo, appreciate the $10 super chat. He's got a question. He says, I have a Denon X6200 with dual sub pre-outs, have 2 subs and also a pair of bass shakers. What would be the best way to incorporate both subs and the shakers? X62 does not support the Odyssey app. Super cool. So I don't have bass shakers in mine, but I know a lot of guys will use a mini DSP to be able to separate that and control that. Ryan, what would you suggest? He's got 2 subwoofers. I think he's got 2 bass shakers as well. So he needs, technically, I guess he could probably do a Y out of one of those and a Y out of the other one. So he may not have to have a mini DSP.
I would do a Y only out of one of them if you do it that way. There's no sense in doing a Y out of both.
All right. So he has 4 things, but he's only got 2 outputs. So how?
Yeah, just run. So out's coming from the AVR. Just go Y and then split it again. Split it twice. Use 2 Y splitters.
Oh, so you're saying use the single out? Yeah, but then he's not able to control those independently, though.
You're not able to control them independently anyway because you're at the mercy of the subs.
But the levels, so wouldn't he be able to adjust the levels on, say, the bass shakers with 1 sub out and the levels on?
If you're going to do it that way, well, then you lose dual subs. Then you have to co-locate your subs.
So you're thinking just, and again, I haven't added bass shakers, so I don't know what that dynamic looks like. So you're thinking split it, and then you split one of them?
Well, he has to run the pre-out to an amplifier, right? So you run 1 sub out of 1 pre-out and then another sub out of the other pre-out. And then you run only off of one of the subs, then you split it. Okay, so the sub goes to one and the bass shaker's the other. And then to get 2 bass shakers, you split it, you split it again. Yep, and then you run that into an amp or 2 amps and then use a attenuation knob to adjust your gain. The problem with that, though, is that you're at the mercy of whatever room EQ or you do PEQ-wise in the AVR. So Michael's solution is definitely ideal, but ideal solutions aren't always available. Yeah.
Yeah. So technically, yes, you could use the pre-out, split those signals. I'm just concerned that you wouldn't be able to, like Ryan said, you're not going to be able to EQ because you're EQing for your sub in a way.
And
So
I would do it that your subs are more important for the EQ. I mean, if you have subs in
maybe
multiple
not even.
positions,
Would you not connect them and then kind of dial it in for the subs and then add?
maybe his subs have the ability to do arc on board. Maybe they can do RemiQ on board and then he doesn't have to do it. But if your subs aren't co-located, your problem then is they're going to be getting the same PEQ or room EQ or whatever you're doing, and that could be bad, right?
Gotcha.
You may be getting boosts or cuts that you don't need in a certain location. So if they're not co-located, you're just going to have a bad time.
Cool. Definitely do some research on that, Bo. There's some great groups, especially like in the AVS forum, that are dedicated to bass shakers. And but yeah, so I think the most flexibility, like if you're looking to really dial this thing in, you're going to need something like a mini DSP 2x4 HD. That'd be great to be able to do that. It's just there's a learning curve in it to get those to play nicely, but I think you'll have the most flexibility because you can EQ each one of those subwoofers, each one of those bass shakers, adjust the phase and all that stuff. You just have so much more flexibility with that, but you might still be able to do it with just, because you can always try it with the Y splitters and just see how it sounds and feels in your room. And if you dial it in and it sounds great and it feels great, then don't worry about the 2x4. But if you do it and it's like, man, this just is not working, then definitely may want to invest in a 2x4 HD. So great question, man. Danny, appreciate the $10 super chat. He says, I'm running Romex cable throughout my home theater and was wondering about the switch in the back of my sub 120 volt and 240 volt. Is there an improvement in sound going 240 volt? Love you guys. Appreciate the love and support, Danny.
Which subs can run off both of those?
Well, I think what he's saying, like, I know a lot of times on the back of subwoofers, they have a switch. And my understanding is it depends on like what country you're in. Because like in overseas, if you're not in the US, a lot of them run off of 240. So you need to switch over to 240. If you're in the States, United States, and 120 is your standard household outlet, that's what you're going to want to use. So I don't think it's really a matter of which one is better. You're not going to get any more like better sound doing a 240. It's just going to allow you to send more power to that amplifier. But to me, I think it really just is dependent upon where you're located in the world and what kind of power you got coming to your normal outlets. Wouldn't you think, Ryan?
If that's what he's talking about, then yes. That's what he has to be talking about.
Yeah, I mean, like I just don't see. I mean, I guess
it's like saying, the JTRs have 240 volt, but they're using the 240 volt that you're coming from with those is a dedicated 240 volt.
Well, he is saying that he's running Romex, so maybe he's just wondering if he can run more power. Yeah, let us know what kind of subs you have.
The amount of power you're going to be able to run is dictated by the gauge of the wire. So you're going to need a thicker wire in order to run more power because you're sending more amperage through that wire. So, I mean, just depends on what you're trying to do. And I'd want to know what kind of sub you're trying to do this with.
Yeah, Danny,
that's the biggest thing. Let us know what sub that is.
He says, he says he has a rhythmic F18s. So he's got big boy subs. That's good.
Those would be fine off of 120. They don't need 240. I would just put them. The 240 is probably for what Michael suggested. It's probably designed to run in multiple countries.
Because if they didn't, then they would have to make two different amplifiers instead of just having a switch on that.
That's my guess.
So
120 if you're in the States.
Yeah, and it would be good. I mean, shoot them an email, ask them a question, give them a phone call. They'll be able to let you know what that's for. And I mean, they may say, oh, absolutely. If you can run 240, you're going to get this much value, whatever.
Well, 240 is going to take a special kind of plug here in the United States.
Right. And that, like I said, it's just not real common here. So, but yeah, man, cool deal. Good question, man. Good luck on the subs though, man. I love big subs. I'm glad you got 18s. All right, let's come back up here. Mosen says, my current system, Yamaha RXV 2085 clips, 8000 Fs, 504
So many numbers.
Yeah, these are a lot of model numbers. So a lot of clips. He's got SVS subs, PV3000, Fluence. I'm not familiar with that. Do you think it makes any difference to spend money and change the surround to Klipsch? So great question there. I'm going to look, I'm assuming these Fluences, SXBP, Fluence, SX.
They're bipoles.
Okay. BP, what's the rest of that model number? BP.
The main difference is you're using a traditional soft dome tweeter against
a horn.
So
he's not going to be able to get as loud probably with that, right? If he's using a soft dome on the Fluence?
I don't know. Klipsch is kind of an enigma as far as I really don't consider them what you would normally consider to be a compression driven horn.
Well, definitely not in their, they actually don't use, all right, let me back up.
What do they use?
Some of their higher end, like say for instance, my RF73s, they use an actual compression horn tweeter. But not all their speakers do. Usually it's on the higher end. So those 502S surrounds, those aren't going to have a compression.
Are they just a soft dome tweeter?
I think so. Klipsch are, let me just say like a 50, what is that? 502S. Take a look what those have.
Man, these things start falling off at 170 hertz.
On which one? The Fluence?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so something like that. If you're looking to do a wide dispersion, so they're using a, let me go down here.
That's not good.
Just sharing my screen. All right, let me pull this up. Okay, that's what I was trying to find. As far as the tweeter on that one, they're using, it just says a vintage tweeter design. You'd think I'd know this. Oh, here we go. So it's a 1-inch titanium tweeter. It is a vintage tweeter with a hybrid cross-section expansion Tractrix horn. So, but it's a titanium tweeter, not a soft dome tweeter. But it's not a compression driver. So, but these go from like 62 to 25 kilohertz.
That's what they say, though.
All right, Mr. Ryan, you measure them and you let us know. You honestly, usually where Klipsch gets hammered is on their sensitivity. That's usually what people, they're like, oh, they're not quite as sensitive as they claim. And, you know, they're 3 dB less sensitive. All I know is when I hook up most speakers and I hook up Klipsch speakers, I always have to turn up the other speakers. Don't know exactly how much, but it definitely needs to be cranked up quite a bit more to get the same volume. So yeah, as far as, I mean, to me, I've always suggested, like, I'm looking at your system and most of it's Klipsch. So I would think eventually I would try to work towards that. Even if you buy some of the older Klipsch, even on the used market, you know, if the 502Ss are out of the price range, dude, I've bought Klipsch speakers for as little as $50 for a pair of RS7s, and those are phenomenal speakers. They just happen to be white, so that's not going to work in everybody's situation. But definitely look at the used market. But my opinion is move towards the system that you're building.
My opinion is I don't like those Fluence speakers.
Well, and that would be all the more reason to move towards, you know.
I mean, look at this. This is gross.
Oh, I'll bring it up.
I'm getting there.
Ryan's triggered at Fluence.
This is bad.
I'm not familiar with them. I mean, I've heard of them. I just haven't reviewed any of their stuff.
Look at that.
Ooh, it drops off big time. Look at that.
Yes.
Here, let me hide this for a second. Where are we at?
170 hertz. Right there.
Yeah. But even look at the top. Look at the top end, though. The top end drops.
It does drop. Yeah. I mean, I guess they're trying to do the Harman thing, but
yeah. But at
this is really bad.
150 hertz.
Yeah. 170. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah. So there's definitely, your crossover is going to be way, way high.
You're going to have male vocal and stuff all in your crossover, or you're just going to be falling off in your surrounds, which you really don't want to do. How big are those surround drivers? That's my next question on those Fluence.
5 1/4 maybe. I can't see. I've got my screen.
Does it even say? dual 4-inch polymer threaded with
yeah,
butyl rubber surrounds.
the butyl. Yeah. 4-inch.
I mean, they're even rating them at 130 hertz, but that's 130 hertz. They're like 6 dB to 10 dB down.
Yeah. I'd say it'd be safe to move towards clips. Like I said, you've already got your fronts are clips, your center channels clips. You've got, what is that? 16 RC. I don't know what that is. Pro 16 RC. So yeah. So I would say yes. So
move away from that would be my recommendation.
Ryan's not impressed with the
no.
He was rooting for him until he saw.
And then they got an 88 dB sensitivity.
You're like, oh,
this speaker's just.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cheap.
Yeah.
It's $100 for a pair.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Don, appreciate it. I did a video on this room, and it's weird, man. When on YouTube, when you try to make a video that is outside of your niche, YouTube's like, I don't even know who to show this to, because it's so different than what you normally do. But it's one of those things that, you know what, I've worked hard for this thing. It's part of what I do here as a content creator. So I wanted to show that off, and I had fun doing it. And the only bad thing is my sister, I paid her company to install my doors. And she was like, that video was great, but it sure would have been great to see my doors in your video. So
unfortunately, sister, most people don't have any interest in seeing other people's doors.
That's the thing, is like, so I may make one just for her to use, like on their channel, like saying, hey, we took our office, converted it, added their doors. So I might hook my sis up, and they can upload it to their channel. So, man, appreciate that. All right, let's get back to your questions here. Bendick says, planning to upgrade my TV, either a Samsung A95K or a ultra short throw projector. I'm worried that a UST will be hard to line up. It is, with the ALR screen on the other side. It gives a larger picture, input, or advice. Great question.
So the A95K is a Sony.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the short, typically, I mean, a quality and I'm not familiar with the TVs because I only have one TV. TVs typically are going to give you a better image. It's really, really hard to duplicate that on a UST. I've reviewed a bunch of USTs, and some of them look really good. There's only been 2 that I've been really, really impressed with. That was an LG HU85LA, I think was the model number. And then there was a Hisense L9G. Mm-hmm. Both of those are really, really great UST projectors, but you're not going to get the same black levels. You're not going to, especially like if you're comparing it to an OLED, not even close. But on the flip side, you can't get the size of a UST.
You can
in most TVs, unless you got that big LG that's 20 grand or whatever it costs. So I think there's some trade-offs there. So you mentioned, it's difficult to line them up. That is the hardest thing. Now, difficult meaning, all right, it may take you 20 minutes to do it. I literally just did one for a video for Hisense. They sent me a screen, they sent me a projector, and they paid me to make 2 how-to videos. It's not going to be on my YouTube channel. It's really just for probably their dealers and showing them how to set it up and how to install it, things like that. Or maybe they're using it on their website as a how-to for customers. But it probably took us about 20 minutes to line that up. And it's a pain in the butt, I'll be honest with you.
But it is only 20 minutes.
That's the thing. It's not like, oh my gosh, I'm dying. It's just frustrating. You move it and it's crooked. You move it and you bend it and you're like, oh, I think we need to raise this up a little bit, or we need to lower it. And sometimes you don't have that luxury if you've got a TV stand. So it's things like that. But I think the biggest question is you got to kind of think about is what means the most to you? Is it a larger immersive experience? Another thing you really need to think about is where are you going to put that center channel? If you have a center channel,
that's usually the problematic thing with ultra short throws.
That's a challenge. Right,
Bendick, I want to know what your room is like for this.
If you got a lot of ambient light, The ALR screen's great for that.
I mean, he could buy if he's willing to transport, we got that Samsung A90 Neo 98-inch.
Yeah, that's a big TV.
It's in my garage right now. It's going to need a home after M-Wave because it'll be at M-Wave. That could be a best of both worlds, both cases there.
Yeah. He says it's a regular living room with some light control, but there will be some light leaks. Sure. So kind of your standard living room.
I mean, I think a TV is going to be better for that environment.
It's going to be a better picture, no doubt. But again, it just depends on, are you trying to get this? How big is the 95K? I mean, is it
65 inches?
Okay. Yeah. So to me, going from 65 to 100 or 110 or even 150, some ultra short throws will do 150. That's a big difference, bro. And you can get a really nice picture. So again, I think you need to decide like what's more important. Is it video quality? If that is, absolutely go with the, with the Sony or, the A95K. If it's, I just want kind of more of a movie experience, then you might want to look at an ultra short throw. So there's definitely trade-offs, but to get a good picture in ultra short throw, you got to spend some money. Probably, a minimum of $3,000, maybe $4,000. Because the budget ones, the $1,500, $2,000 ones,
Samsung 98,
they just don't look that great. So, what's that?
Samsung 98.
Yeah. So best of both worlds.
If he can transport it.
Yeah. So it's big. If you're interested, shoot Ryan an email. I don't know where you're located at. And actually, it goes for anybody. Like you said, it's going to need a home after M-Wave. So shoot Ryan an email if you're interested in it.
Or if you want to go bigger than that, budget-wise.
Yeah.
I need somebody that wants to get a LG 98-inch G2.
So then we can bring it to M-Wave.
And we can bring it to M-Wave.
I'm
hooking you up on both of these because they're demo units. So if that in any way, shape, or form fits anybody's fancy, ideally you don't want to ship them because they're enormous.
The wrong thing. Sorry.
They're 200 or 300 pounds. You have to have a mount that's going to span 4 to 5 stud bays.
Yeah.
But if you go with something like that LG, the Samsung's going to be really good. The Samsung just doesn't have the individual pixel, backlighting and stuff that the OLEDs have. Yeah. So, but there's not going to be any comparison. They're just going to blow the projectors out of the water.
Be fun, man. So, non-question here, technical question. Ryan's that one of your new hats you recently got that fits your big head?
Yeah, I got a big head. I got an 8-inch head.
It looks good, dude.
It's huge. So having like a hat that fits where I'm not on the last snap of a snapback is really unusual. And this hat, if I go to the last snap, it's way too big for me. So it's really unusual for me to have a hat that fits my head. And they're really well made. I really like them.
Yeah. And so he was talking about a 4 movie. So that's one of the few that I haven't reviewed.
It's supposed to be good.
Yeah. I've heard good things about them.
Good things.
I haven't compared them to the Samsungs and Hisense and the LGs. So Tiki Time says, do either of you know anybody using cork panels for their home theater on ceilings, walls, or floors? It has good soundproofing, mold resistance, and eco qualities.
Why are you worried about mold?
Maybe he's
got a really wet, moist room.
Yeah.
All that moist base.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think you're going to soundproof that much with cork. Bass waves are thick. If they can travel through my concrete block, if they can travel through drywall and studs, I think cork would be pretty easily to do. Now, it may block some of the higher frequencies, but I don't think it's going to do much for...
Your best bet is doing really deep sections of just pink fluffy.
He has a water fan for tornado movies, adding that 4D in his theater room.
Yeah. Could do that. But I would just do air gaps, or if you got tons of space, like a couple feet deep, pink fluffy.
Yeah. There's definitely, I think there's probably some better methods than just cork. Mohammed says, what are your thoughts on mixing a PB1000 Pro with an SB2000 Pro?
Don't.
Great question. I typically don't recommend mixing sealed and ported. I think Ryan's on the same page on that. It can be done. Ryan has done it in his. So in a comparison, you said you were mixing some sealed and ported, and it took you a couple of days, right, to get it kind of dialed in and playing right?
Yeah, it took a long time. But your problem then is I don't know that you're actually really ideally set up, because you have phase shifting at different points. Your phase is different at the low end when they're coming together than it is at the high end, and it's nothing really comes together perfectly. So if you can avoid it, I would.
Yeah. So I just saw, let me come down here. So Bidnick says, thanks for the great input. I think I'll go with the UST for more immersive experience. So you've decided like that's more valuable to you, and
there you go.
Nothing wrong with that. So definitely, like I said, the two that I recommend, I've even got a review on the channel. It's the Hisense L9G. I think that's my favorite so far. But also there was the LG HU85LA, I believe is the model number. So look at both of those, but I think the Hisense L9G would be my recommendation at this point. It's
the
a
Epson
little.
also looks really good.
See, I haven't seen that one yet.
It'll be an M-Wave in a couple places.
What's the model of that one?
The
I don't know.
What is it? The LA 800?
LS 800?
Yeah.
Is that an ultra short throw?
Yes.
Okay. So LS 800, we will have that at M-Wave. It'll be in the SVS booth. So,
well, there'll be one in the SVS booth, and I think there'll be one in the Focal booth.
Okay. So a couple.
Yep.
Had some people asking about Focal the other day, what models they were bringing. I told them I don't know.
The Utopias, the Tivas, the Sephoras.
Shoot me an email if you know.
The what else will be there? The Arias.
Oh man,
they're
bringing so they're not doing a full home theater though, right? It's more 2-channel.
The Tivas, I think we might, but okay. It's probably just going to be a 5-channel bed layer, because I don't think we can do heights.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Let's see. Chris says, but I'm crossing fingers and toes. In and Out is for sure coming to Kansas City with their expansion announcements plan. I've been to In and Out maybe once or twice. It was okay. It's pretty good. Wasn't like my favorite, but it was pretty good. Mike Bass says, I have a 7.2 Denon 7S50H. Can I use 2 of the 7 surround speakers as Atmos or height speakers? Can I use 2? So he would basically be wanting to do like a 5.2.2.
I don't know that the S750 supports that.
That's what I'm thinking. He's wanting to do like a 5. See if it'll do a 5.1.2.
I don't think it supports that.
S750H. Take a look.
Oh, there's no specifications on the website. It's nice. The Denon website's blank for specs, so I'm looking at the back of the unit.
I'll go ahead and I'll share my screen.
I don't think it supports it.
Oh. All right, so there it is. So we got nothing for specs.
Nope.
We got a manual, got an owner's manual information sheet. Can we download that? All right, there we go.
I think it only supports bed layer.
Are y'all seeing that?
That's what I saw. Nothing there.
No,
it supports nothing.
Hang on, let me switch over. Stop that.
So it supports front, center, surrounds, and surround backs.
There we go. That's what I was trying to do. So it won't support it. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more of your entry level. It's got 7 amps. I was trying to see. Usually, a lot of times they'll tell you, like it says 7.2, but it doesn't tell you the configuration on here. Yeah, not a lot of information on it.
It's a budget entry level AVR.
Here we go. 5.1.2.
Wow, look at that.
It'll do 2 Atmos speakers. So it'll do Dolby Atmos, virtual height channels.
I wonder what channels it uses for that then. Oh, surround back. They're assignable. Look at me lying to everybody online.
Oh, good. That's why we look. Hey, we don't know. I mean, there's no physical way we can know every one of these. Yeah, so when you look here, let me zoom in. You guys can see this. So surround back right here, and see down here it says assignable surround backs. So cool. So yes, you can do that with your AVR. Teamwork. Nah. Like I said, we don't know. I mean, we're having to look this stuff on. And here's the other thing too, is like we're having to look this stuff up on the fly live, which adds a level of complexity.
I looked it up wrong.
It's all good. Big B, hey, at least we admit when we're wrong. How about that? So Big B, I have a question. Your top 10 reasons for home theater. You spoke about running at -10 dB and reference. I have my Denon set at -80 dB and it's really loud. Can you elaborate on the mathematics on this topic? Great question. So I've got a video on my channel called, if you just search for Youthman reference, there's a video on there talking about like, what is reference? So more than likely, I'm just guessing, when you're turning your dial, it probably doesn't say -80. My guess is it says 80. Like you're going from 0 to, I'm just guessing, 0 to 100, and you're at like 80. Yes, that would be really loud because you're almost maxed out on your AVR. In your AVR on the Denon, go into the settings and then go to volume, and there should be an option that allows you to change it from a scale of 0 to 100 to negative whatever, -80 dB to +20 dB, something like that. So when you run Odyssey on that Denon, it's going to calibrate your system to reference. And so reference would be at a certain volume at 0 dB. It's like 85 dB with peaks up to 105 dB. So when you're at 0 dB, you're going to be like, your volume overall is going to be 85 to 105. So if you were at +80 or -80, that thing would not be screaming. Even with all your trims wide open, there's no way that can be just crazy, crazy loud. So I think that's what it is. But check out that video. Yeah, I don't even think sensitive speakers are going to do that, Bruce, because I've got 104 dB sensitive speakers, or no, maybe 101. But yeah, even at negative dB, like -30 for me is definitely not loud. But what I was mentioning is I'm usually about 10 dB below reference, sometimes 15 dB below reference, just depending on the movie. And that's plenty loud enough for me. I don't ever watch a full movie at reference. So yeah, great question. But check out that video. Just search for, on YouTube, just search for Youthman. Yeah, absolute. Yes, Randy is kind of right. I look at it as absolute and relative volume. Absolute is 0 to 100. Your relative is relative to reference. So absolutely, brother. Cool, man. Great question. OSU Fanatic 1980 says, currently using JTR Captivator 4000, and it shakes my 25 by 18.5 by 9 room and hardly has turned up. I'm not surprised. So would adding a second really just be pointless and only benefit be better response at different seats? Great question.
Obviously needs 3 more.
So you've got plenty of output. You've got a decent sized room. I mean, you've got 18 by 25. Mine's 19 by 13. So it's actually smaller than your room, but I don't have a 4000 Captivator. The Captivator 4000s are a monster. It's a beast. So part of the benefit of adding a second sub is just what you alluded to, is getting better seat to seat response. Another benefit of having a second sub is you wouldn't have to run that Captivator as hot. But like you said, if you're barely got it turned up, then it's not working hard anyway. So it may not benefit you that great. Another thing, what's that?
It's not necessarily just seat to seat response. He's probably going to get better response in the main listening position.
Well, yeah. Well, correct. I mean, like, I guess we're assuming that you get a flat response. First question, have you measured your seat, your primary listening position, just to see, is that frequency response for the bass, is it flat? If it's flat, you're super, super lucky, because most people aren't with one sub.
I doubt it's going to be flat.
Usually you're going to have a, kind of like this. You're going to have some dips, and then you're going to have some peaks, then you're going to have some more dips and then peaks. And so having more subwoofers is going to help smooth that out when you dial those in. So Ryan is correct there. So yeah, so definitely measure it and see. And if you've got a poor frequency response, like if you're missing frequencies, let's say the 40 to 50 hertz, you got a 10 dB dip or 15 dB or 20 dB dip, you're missing out on some really, really great content in those frequencies. So adding a second sub, dialing those in, calibrating those, time aligning them, EQing them, that could make a big, big difference in your seat. But yeah, so there's multiple benefits of having multiple subwoofers. I'm a big fan of having at least 2. Ryan likes 30, but that's just him.
So as an example of what will happen is my first sub, my frequency response goes like this. Am I going the right?
Yeah.
Like this.
Yeah.
So from high to low.
Right. Yep.
It'll go smooth, dip, big dip, back up, and then kind of come off. And then I add another one, right? And it's going to smooth out a little bit, dip, may have a peak there now, and dips come up a little bit, and then it tapers off.
Yeah.
Right. Then I add 3, and now it's that dips next to nothing, and that dips next to nothing. And then I add 4, and it's virtually perfectly flat.
Pretty flat. Yeah.
So a lot of it is the multi-locations of subs are going to allow you to fight room modes. And as long as you get your phasing and impulse alignments correct, a lot of times you won't need hardly, if any, filters, because the subs are going to be able to handle all of that on their own. You need a measurement mic. It's really important that people just not try and throw money at situations and throw money at these problems, because if you don't know where you're starting, how do you know when your problem's fixed? A lot of times just adding a sub, you're just going to end up adding output, and it can actually be detrimental depending on where you put the sub. You could run into cancellations and a bunch of other stuff. So it's really important you get a measurement. I mean, if you can get a measurement and show us, and then tell us where the sub is and where you're thinking about putting another sub, we may be able to give you a better recommendation. But don't just try going chasing things without measuring.
Chris would disagree. The only answer to how many subs I need should be yes.
I agree. I mean, you're not going to fight me on that, but I'm not the guy to listen to that, because I fall in the Mark and Scott club, where we need to get letter jackets of, the JTR greater than 5.
Love Amazon, man. Packages come.
What'd you get now?
Just a little mouse pad. So when I did that video on my desk, I had this big honking kind of like pad that went under the keyboard and under the mouse. And I'm like, I took it off because I want to show this beautiful desk. And I'm thinking, why do I need this big pad? I just need something little like this, like an actual mouse pad. So this one has leather on one side and then aluminum on the other side.
But if you use the leather side, how does the aluminum part stick to the desk? Wouldn't it just slide around?
It has a decent amount of grip. Yeah.
Oh, should have like rubber things in the corner.
Honestly, the rubber slides more than that's interesting. Yeah. Both of them slide a little bit. So we'll see.
Guys didn't know you were going to get an ASMR video on mouse pads, did you?
See, that's the ADD in me, man. I get distracted. So too funny, man. Got some folks from Australia. Good to see you, Ryan. I love seeing you guys from all over the world, man. Super cool. Love to meet you guys sometime. Need to do an Australian Youth Man home theater tour. That'd be awesome. Just need to find a couple sponsors, man. Send us over there. Me and Jessica come make a trip. Get to see my buddy Tony over there. Build montage. That'd be super cool. All right. Back on track. George Mendez says, I have Kef T-Series running off of Marantz NR711. I think that's the Slimline. Is that right? The NR
I think
series.
so.
He has 2 channels left. My rear wall is 14 foot away. So that's a pretty good distance from my second row of seats. Do I put Atmos rears in the ceiling? So that's a great question because, the challenge there is you've got a lot of distance between your back row. Depending on what's that?
Can you put them on poles?
Like speaker stands or something? Or are you talking about dropping them down from the ceiling?
Well, I don't think I would drop them from the ceiling, but yeah, on the floor.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that there would be nothing wrong with doing. All right, so let me take that back. First question I want to know is, are you running Dolby Atmos speakers or an Oro 3D, DTSX, something like that? The reason why I asked that is if you have your Atmos speakers or your height speakers, say in your ceiling, and then right behind that, you're going to put these surround back speakers, you're not going to have any separation. So your brain isn't, you'll hear it back there, but you don't know that it's above you because all that sound's coming from above you. I think 14 foot is going to be a challenge for a lot of speakers to be able to, you're going to have your gains way, way, way up. And with Kef, I don't think they're super, super sensitive. So I think they're really going to be struggling at 14 feet.
Yeah, but then his surround field's going to be flat, flat, up, flat, and then come back down with where the sounds are orienting from.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's ideal that was my whole question, is if he has Atmos, it's not going to be ideal to have rear.
Yeah, but even without Atmos, he's just going to be bed layer, bed layer, bed layer, like all the speakers on the same plane, then in the ceiling, and then back to the bed layer. And it's just,
I'm not saying that's ideal. You got to figure this. If you're just trying to do surround sound, like that's your surround back and you're not doing Atmos, okay, that might work, but I see what you're saying. It's going to be on the ground plane, and then your height.
I wouldn't do that.
Surround speakers are going to be higher.
I would put them on the floor. So you could do them in the wall or on the wall, but with 14 feet away, your speaker has to get so loud in order for it to be able to get the needed volume at your main listening position. 14 feet's a long way. So I would put them on like bookshelves on stands or towers or something right there.
Yeah, if you can get them closer, 100%. Absolutely, I would do that.
That's what I would do in that position. Why do you feel like you need rears? I mean, I guess you've got a second row and you've only got surrounds right now. Do you have tops?
He said, do I put Atmos or rears in the ceiling? So Atmos, yeah.
Atmos in the ceiling, absolutely.
Yeah, that'll work good. So I'm assuming he doesn't have either Atmos or rear speakers, like surround backs. So
I wouldn't put the surrounds in the ceiling, though.
Ideally, you want your bed layer on the bottom and then your height channels above that so that you create this bubble and separation. Excuse me. But unfortunately, we don't always have that luxury. He may have little kids. He may have dogs that could knock him over. So
just put the kids up for adoption.
Hey, man, it's Father's Day, dude. Come on, dude.
I don't know. My daughter didn't bother my speakers at all. Didn't care about them. We just taught her, like, these are things, don't touch them. And then she was fine.
So Bruce has a good point here. So it'd probably help if we look this up. So NR, what's the model number? NR, he's thinking that won't even accommodate Atmos. 711. So that's the hard thing, is when you're doing this thing live.
No, he's saying that he can't have both. But what the George is asking is, which one does he do?
Okay. I see what
That's
you're saying.
how I took it.
Okay. I'm trying to see on here. Does it say?
I mean, I told my daughter if she touched my speaker, she'd be homeless. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, I train my kids too. Mine were a little bit older. Yeah, this is another one of those. I'm looking at the manual, or at least their website, and I'm not seeing where it specifies what it's capable of. If you guys are familiar with that model, let me know.
I've never going to be able to do 5.1.2 or 7.1.
Okay. But it will do 2 Atmos?
Pretty sure.
Or are you guessing again?
I'm guessing.
That didn't work out good last time. Let me know in the chat, guys, if you're familiar with that model. That is the NR1711 Slim.
If nobody sits in your back row, or if people that sit in your back row really don't care about home theater, do 5.1.2. Put heights or tops over your main listening position. I think that's going to be easier and it's going to be more ideal.
Yeah, I don't see anything that's saying what it supports. But I was on the Safe and Sound website instead of the Marantz website. But yeah. Yeah, I'd have to probably go into the manual there. All right, I wish I had a better answer for you there, buddy. Let me go back up here. Chris Contra says, Dirac Odyssey before sound treatments.
No.
My thing is get your room as good as you can first. Add your treatments. Because here's what you're doing. We've always recommended physical, getting your room to sound as good as it can. Then use digital EQ, PEQ, room correction, that kind of stuff to tweak that and to make some small adjustments. The last thing you want to do is just take a crappy room, horrible acoustics, and say, oh, Trenov will fix that. Dirac will fix that.
No, it won't.
ARC will fix that. You know, ideally, you want to get that as good as it can. And that way the your room correction is just making some small tweaks and making that better. So absolutely do your sound treatments first. I think, unfortunately, a lot of us, I know I did, sound treatments were way down the road. I didn't see the value in them until way down the road. And I was like, why didn't I do this at the beginning? And I think a lot of times
they're not overtly expensive either.
I think Ryan even mentioned this earlier. A lot of times we throw money at problems in the form of, oh, I need a better center channel because I can't hear the dialogue. It's unclear. It's muddy. I need better speakers. I need better subwoofers.
It's your room.
No, a lot of times you just need to fix the acoustics in it, get that as best it can, and then figure out, do I need more volume? Do I need better quality components? Do I need more output from my speakers or my subwoofers? So yeah, I'm with Ryan, man. I would hit the sound treatments first. And again, DIY is a great way to be able to do those on the cheap. I saw Life of Bliss pop in the chat. He's got an incredible series, not a series, but a video on how to make some DIY acoustic panels and even put like fabric on them so that you can decorate them with pictures or artwork or movie posters, things like that. So definitely check out Life of Bliss's channel. So he is working on, oh yeah, so he's got a cool build series right now. So he's working on the 24s from GSG. And so he is getting those ready to prep. So I even asked him tonight, I said, hey, you want to jump on the chat with us? And or on the live stream? He's like, man, I'm working. Trying to get these things out. I only got 3 weeks to M-Wave.
Yeah.
So
I was out at his house yesterday.
Yeah.
It's a good time. Wasted too much time.
He's a good dude.
He told me he was donating one of the 24s to me, though.
Woohoo!
He's going to give it to me.
That's awesome, man.
Right, Kyle?
Yeah.
Right?
Something like that. Gimpy G Gaming, thanks so much for the $10 super chat, man. Certainly appreciate your love and support. If you have a question, definitely drop that in the chat. And
I hope your theater came together. I know you were talking about it in the past with getting things set up. Hopefully it came together nice.
Yeah, let us know for sure. All right. Who's this Ryan guy? Killam says, how do you play Dolby Vision and lossless audio via Apple TV 4K? Ryan, you've got a TV probably that supports Dolby Vision.
Got a few.
So Dolby Vision and
the Apple TV can support Dolby Vision for sure. Lossless audio is not going to happen through the Apple TV. It's just not a thing. That's why a lot of people that do Plex and Kodi or anything of their own making of libraries, they don't use the Apple TV because it doesn't support full audio pass-through. That's why the NVIDIA Shield has such a large following, and now the Z do. So if you're looking to go that way with your own media, look at something like an NVIDIA Shield or a Z-Do or something. But for streaming, honestly, I just use Apple TVs because I've got them on multiple TVs in the house. The user interface is so much easier. It syncs in with your phone. Siri can control it. You can have all of the same apps on all of the different Apple TVs throughout the house. It's a little bit of a trade-off, but for streaming content, I really don't think it's that big of a deal. So if you're just streaming content, I think it's fine. That's my opinion, though.
Travis says, on the Marantz AV processors, how can I be certain the audio decoding is Dolby Digital and not some form of Marantz post-processing?
Just walk up to it and politely ask, hey, Marantz, are you doing Dolby Digital?
Yeah. I would hit the info button on there. It'll tell you what's incoming and what's outgoing. And so if it says, hey, it's the incoming signal is Dolby Digital and the outgoing is Dolby Digital, what it's processing, then honestly, other than contacting Marantz engineers and going, hey, are you tweaking this? Are you doing anything? I don't see them doing that. There are some options in the in one of the menus. You hit it and it pops up.
I think it's the options menu because they've got like a settings menu and an options menu, and the options menu brings up the overlaid on-screen display, and you can select like your different
neural
up mixers.
Yeah. So unless it's doing that, but that should be displayed if you're sending the signal as bitstream from like your 4K player on your actual Marantz, it'll say what it's decoding. If it's Dolby Atmos, if it's Dolby Digital and so forth. But if it doesn't say that, if it says like PCM, then I'm trying to think. Actually, the incoming signal then would be PCM. So it would be Dolby Digital. But either way, I would just, unless you physically have changed that and it's doing an up mixer, you should be fine. But it should show Dolby Digital coming in, Dolby Digital going out. Bruce Barnes, when a living room opens up to the rest of the house, it hurts subwoofer performance. True. Would barn doors do anything to change that, or do they not create a good enough seal? I don't think a barn door is going to really seal a room properly. I don't even know. Are they super heavy? I've never had a barn door.
Depends on the barn door. They can be super heavy. Mine do decently well. I mean, I don't think they're going to do any worse than a wall.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll do slightly worse than a wall, but they're better than it just being open.
Yeah. Because then that sound is just literally it's like almost like a big port. So it's not able to pressurize the room. But yeah, I didn't even think of that. I mean, you've got barn doors, and I've never went, man, I wish you had more bass in here. And that was even when you had 2 subwoofers.
Oh, darn. Was that the last time you were here was when I had 2 subs?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I'm sorry. I think you had the one.
There was the near field. It was the 2 up front and then the near field.
Yeah, I think you had it.
But you didn't. I didn't have the rears.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
Then he's added 6 on the ceiling and 2 at his neighbor's house. I mean, they're just everywhere.
Yeah. I have a disease.
Enterbond says, can we change the audio signature of soundbar.stay home? What is he talking about?
I think he's just talking. Stay home he was doing an emoji. He's asking if we can change the audio signature of a soundbar.
Oh, interesting. Like, what do you want to change?
It's acoustic sound signature, like how it sounds.
My thought is, if you don't like your soundbar, buy something that you do. I don't know how much you're going to be able to change the sound signature of a soundbar, because typically they're going to have their own kind of little processing inside, or DSP, because they're trying to maximize, these really, really small speakers, 3-inch speakers, 2-inch speakers, maybe 4-inch speakers. They're trying to get the most out of those as they can. So they've already probably applied some DSP to them. So it's going to be hard to change that, I would think. But I've never owned a soundbar, so I don't know.
I've owned a few of them, and I don't know of any way that you're able to change its audio signature. It's probably your room.
Yeah, you'd almost have to do that on the front end, but then I don't even know what that would
Maybe
even look
some
like.
of them, like the Sennheiser, have the ability to do room EQ.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Maybe it's got like I would think that would have to be a higher end.
Well, the
Soundbar.
Sennheiser isn't cheap.
Yeah, like the cheaper ones are not going to give you any of that kind of control. Vindic says, how important is Dolby Vision support when it comes to selecting an ultra short throw projector? The Hisense L9G supports it. The LG and Epson one does not. Thanks for great help. So how important is Dolby Vision?
Important.
I've never had it for the most part.
It's important. It's going to increase the ability of your HDR content to be tone mapped properly. It's done by Dolby, and that's why it's licensed, right? Because Dolby is doing it. It depends on the implementation. When you start getting into projectors like the Hisense, I've never seen a Hisense with Dolby Vision and one without it, so I can't really answer that question. I think it's going to make a difference if you're comparing like Dolby Vision against HDR10. It will absolutely be better. But a lot of people, I think, deal with not having Dolby Vision in the standard throw or front throw projection, and they're just fine. So take that for what it is.
Yeah, my JVC in my theater room doesn't have Dolby Vision. So, and honestly, I don't even know if I stream most everything in the living room. I don't do any kind of like critical movie watching. It's mostly just Survivor and things like that. Jessica watch HGTV with it occasionally. Gimpy, so this is his question. Appreciate again the super chat earlier. Everything is plugged into the Denon X4800. AVR is plugged into Samsung QN95B, playing Netflix on a PS5, and the sound is coming from the TV, not the Denon. Okay, great question. So one recommendation. All right, let me think this through.
He needs to be plugged into the eARC port.
Yeah, so you've got the Samsung. You got a PS5 going into the 4800. So on the back of the 4800, there should be an HDMI out that says ARC or EARC, depending on what it offers. Then on the back of your TV, the 95B, see if it also has an ARC or EARC, and then connect that. But then the other step is inside your TV, navigate to the audio settings, and somewhere in there, it's going to say enable eARC. Sometimes TVs will have it enabled by default. Sometimes they won't. So go in there and turn that on, and then you can even disable like your TV speakers. And that's what's going to tell the TV, hey, I want to be able to send the sound from the TV into your Denon, and then out of the Denon into your speakers. So Ryan's absolutely right. Is there anything else I missed on that? On the steps of that?
No.
Cool.
Don't think so.
All right, let's go back up here to the questions. Mohammed says, I have 3 PB1000 Pro calibrated with the mini DSP, but I wanted to add another sub, but the only space I have available will only fit a smaller sub. So I was thinking of the SB2000. So again, we're going back to mixing ported and sealed subwoofers.
Don't do it.
Be done? Yes. Is it a pain in the butt to calibrate and dial in? Yes. It's not going to be ideal.
I don't even think when it's done, it's ideal. Even if you do the calibration, because you're phasing issues with port tunes and all kinds of stuff. There's too many problems that come up when you're trying to integrate multiple technologies. Can it be done to an extent? Yes. Yeah. Is it worth doing?
Sure.
And is it even possible to overcome all of those issues? No.
So Mohammed, one question I'd have for you is like, why do you want a 4th subwoofer?
Because more is better. We already established that.
Well, but think about this. So here's where I'm coming with that. So let's say if your answer is, man, I just want to feel it more. I need more output. Then I would look at getting a bigger subwoofer than a PB1000, because that's their entry level, ported subwoofer. So maybe move up to the PB2000 or PB3000 and replace, one of those with that, and not try, because the hard part with the smaller subs, they're small for a reason. They're compact and they're great when you just don't have a lot of space, but you already got 3 subwoofers in your room. I would look at getting bigger subwoofers, upgrading those if you feel like you're missing something from those, versus just adding another tiny subwoofer. You know, if you're going to try to add like their micro subwoofer, it's super small. And it's great for something like this office here. It'd be great to add a little bit of bottom end. It'd be great for a really, really small bedroom and that sort of thing. But if you've got a big living room, adding a really tiny subwoofer probably isn't going to add much to the grand scheme of things. So kind of think through what's your motivation behind wanting a 4th subwoofer. And then, you know, if you can, upgrade your subwoofers to something a little bit bigger, if that's the reason, is output. Bruce says, can I get your impressions about the new Apple Vision Pro? And so I'm just throwing this up there because we talked about this last week. So if you'll check out the video last week, we definitely talked quite a bit about that. Also, I'm going to throw a plug for Jeremy. So look up Tech Enthusiasm. He literally just put out a video on the Apple Vision Pro, and he talked about in relation to a home theater. So go check out his video, Tech Enthusiasm, on his channel. So give him a plug there. Scott Kendrick says, what level do you recommend to calibrate your subwoofers to? Is it 75, 85, or something else entirely more correct? Great question. Ryan, you want to take that?
That's dependent on what AVR or pre you have. Different AVRs and pre's are going to use a different variable. Really, anything from Denon and Marantz is 75 for their room EQ stuff. Storm does their stuff at 85. So you're just going to want to dictate from there. Really, you just want to play a test tone through a speaker and then match it.
So, and here's one thing to tell you too, Scott, is once it's done, regardless of what you calibrate it to, play some content and see what it sounds like. Because every single time that I've done it with Odyssey, I'm always increasing the trim level on the subwoofers, usually by about 6 decibels after calibration. So it does a pretty anemic job at, you know, bass response. And so I kind of boost that. And some people add a house curve, like using the Odyssey app, or if you're using Dirac, you can actually add that as well. So part of that's going to be to taste, but typically, my understanding, like when you're calibrating your mains and all your speakers are going to be 85 with peaks of 105, but your subwoofers, I think, are calibrated like 10 dB hotter than that, 10 or 15 dB. So you end up at what, 115?
If you're going with the curve that way, yes. It depends on your curve.
Yeah.
How we perceive audio depends on the frequency. Like how we perceive the sound depends on the frequency of the sound. So the lower frequencies, you typically need a boost in order to perceive it at the same level as your mid-range frequencies. The higher ones you typically want to roll off because we perceive them as a higher volume. So with those, if you want to have more bass and you want to perceive everything as the same, boost them. It's just going to depend on what kind of house curve you like.
Chris Contra says, should surround back speakers be just behind the listening area or against the furthest wall? That's not the same question from earlier, right? I don't think it was the same question.
No, it's not the same question, but I don't.
It's kind of similar to being behind the listening area or against the farthest wall. Okay, I see what you're saying. So to me, again, if your furthest wall behind you is 14 feet, that's going to be entirely too far. So try to get those closer to your listening position, because then the speakers don't have to work as hard. You don't need them necessarily to be way, way, way behind you. You just need them to be behind you because our ears are aimed forward. So your brain just has to tell you, oh, I'm hearing sound from back here. And those are just audio cues back there. So I would get them kind of closer to you if you can, instead of trying to play some. Now, if your furthest wall is like 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, okay, that's fine. But if it's like in the kitchen, you know, way back there, definitely get those closer to you. Michael Walker says, I recently upgraded my Nakamichi Shockwave SSE 2018 1000 watts in my master bedroom to a Nakamichi Shockwave SSE eARC 2022. And what an improvement. If I'm playing UHD Blu-ray, 32 volume is the something, Ryan. You tagged that one, but I think he had more to say in it.
Well,
I think he's just saying he upgraded. I don't think it was necessarily a question. So if you see
it's
a question,
the highest I can play any action because you feel everything. I'm waiting on the Namamichi Dragon 3000 watts in August. What the hell is going to sound like?
Okay, cool. So more of a statement than a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. The game says Sony 6000 ES.
Oh, he likes Dallas. You can't answer this question.
What's that?
He likes Dallas. You can't answer this question.
I don't know what he likes. He didn't say it in this.
His picture.
Oh, I got you. I'm looking at the other screen. So anyways, the 6000 4K HDR laser home theater projector or the RS 3100 NZ8. Which one to buy? Great question. Definitely some differences there between the Sony and the JVC.
There's a price difference too.
All right, so what are we looking price-wise?
12 and 16.
MSRP, roughly.
12 and 16.
So 12,000 versus 16,000. So you're $4,000 more for an NZ8.
I'm pretty sure. Now I've got myself.
Ryan's like, I'm doubting everything nowadays, man. All right, he's gonna look up on MSRP pricing. Okay,
12. I was right.
All right, so so definitely a price consideration there, and it always comes back to, is it worth it? Is it worth the extra money? So what were some of the differences? Do you recall from last year for the 6000 versus NZ8? What could he expect? Definitely better black levels. We saw that.
The NZ8 has better native contrast.
Okay. Deeper blacks.
Native contrast.
Okay.
The 6000 has reality creation engine.
Okay, which means
it uses reference images. So it uses AI to analyze reference images and add in detail into the image, which can be beneficial because compression does get rid of that type of detail. So it's going to look sharper. I don't know if it has better ANSI contrast.
And both of them have like lens memory, so you can change different aspect ratios depending on what.
If you're using lens memory, the Sony's lens memory is much faster. Lens movement is much faster than the JVC.
Okay.
Which that matters to some people because the JVC is really slow.
It takes probably about what, 10 seconds to switch.
It's really slow.
I mean, it's not that slow. Hey, it's quicker than the Zapiti trying to connect to their server.
Maybe. $4,000 difference is a big.
Sure,
it's a big difference.
Yeah,
depends on what you're find the ANSI contrast.
Okay, he's gonna look that up.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, the good thing, man, if you're in the US, if you're able to come out to M-Wave, we're gonna have both those projectors here. And so we literally are going to put those on 2 screens side by side, and you can see the difference. And again, we're not trying to sell you one way or the other. You know, if you just want to be able to see those side by side, and you determine, you know, which one has better black levels, which one does better with shadow details, which one has better contrast, which one has more brightness. And then you make a decision based on your budget and what you see, what's a better fit for you and your setup. So that's part of what we want to provide for you at M-Wave.
The JVC is going to be substantially heavier. It's almost double the weight of the Sony.
Okay.
The biggest difference is going to be price. You're going to have to decide if the increase in price is worth the increase in native contrast.
And what you get out of it.
Yep.
And Ryan's a dealer for both. So if you do decide on what you want, reach out to him and get your pricing and availability on that. So
try to get you taken care of. And I can answer any questions that you may have, even if you don't buy from me.
And as you can see, I mean, he's not trying to say, hey, you need to go with the most expensive one, because it may not be the best fit for you.
Do what's right for you.
Yeah. But just reach out to him.
Buy the most expensive thing.
Marcelo says, hi, hello from Brazil. That's awesome, man. I love it. I can't buy all the speakers left, center, right now. How would you handle to configure a system without the center channel, like a 4.1.4 system? How is the configuration on the receiver? Great question. So typically when you run your calibration at the beginning, it's going to ask you, does it have a center channel or not? If it doesn't have a center channel, it's going to route that information to your front, left, and right. And then that's going to create what they call a phantom center. It's not ideal, but the good thing is your receiver can accommodate not having a center channel in that setup. So you would just run it without a center channel until you can get one. So yeah. So just
or you may find that you like the phantom center better than having a center.
It isn't, man.
No. I'm just being.
It isn't. It's funny because you'll hear guys every once in a while. They're like, yeah, phantom center rocks. Dude, it's not the same. It really, really isn't. So LCR, I think you're on the right track though, man. Having identical left, center, right speakers for your front sound stage is phenomenal. That's the best way to go. And I love the fact that you're building it over time. I've been a big advocate of that on my channel and just encouraging you guys to enjoy the journey and that process. And I've got some videos even recently talking about that. So, but yeah, man, absolutely. You can do that and just turn that center channel off in the AVR or your processor. Charlie B says 16:9 versus 2.4 aspect ratio screen. He's got 13 foot by 15 foot, 7-foot high ceiling. So he could go bigger with a 240 with the low ceilings for movies, but lose space for sport. Okay, so here's the deal. He's 50% sports, 50% movies.
16:9.
Yeah. So I've got a video on my channel on aspect ratios. I went with a scope screen. 2.35:1 was the main aspect ratio back when I built mine and upgraded mine to 150 inch. But I do zero sports. I mean, we're talking none. I do some gaming, but it's really casual gaming. So to me, the most like what made sense was a scope screen. But with guys that are running 50% sports, that's a lot of 16:9 content. And you might get a little perturbed at seeing gray bars half of the time. So the hard thing is you've got a lot of movies. You got 50% of your movies that are going to have gray bars on top and bottom. I don't know if there's a win.
What I think you do.
Don't
come to me.
Don't say it.
No, I'm not going down that path.
Okay, I was like,
come to me. We find you like a Seymour screen, and we get you manual masking panels.
Yeah. And that would work out well.
So that way you get full 16:9 with your sports. And then if you want to watch 235 and get the more immersion, you put up the manual masking panels. They just use magnets. Put those up there, and then you don't have to deal with the black bars. Then you're having best of both. You get the biggest 16:9 screen you can fit in that room. And then that makes sense with your viewing position.
Top and bottom masking.
Yep. Then we do top and bottom masking.
Honestly, that'd be a great option. And the
I know what you were thinking, Michael, but that's not what I was going to recommend.
That's always yeah, doing manual masking. And here's the cool thing too, Charlie, is that we physically saw what manual mask, or they had electronic masking.
It'll be at M-Wave this year again. They're going to do it again.
It was phenomenal. We had lower end projector sitting next to a higher end projector. I mean, we're talking several $1,000s difference. And we're looking at them, and the more expensive projector looked better. Everybody agreed.
Make the more expensive. We turned off some of the stuff of the more expensive one to get them as close as we could.
But it was cool to be able to see like how much difference our brain thinks that image looks when you have actual black masking on it.
Yep.
So that was huge. And we saw the LS12000. It's a beautiful projector, super bright. So again, I'm a scope guy. I like scope content. But if you can go with a big screen, I mean, I don't know what that'd be in your room. Another thing too, Charlie, I mean, I'm a big advocate for big wide screens, but I would definitely at least look at, all right, how far are you going to be from that image? I'm 150 inch diagonal in a scope format. I'm 9 foot and I love it. But if you go with a 16:9 screen, yeah, I don't know like how close you could get to that.
Doesn't really change anything.
I think it does. I think
Not really.
I don't know. To me, I'm trying to think like
it's just a little taller.
I know, but like the way our eyes see, do we see like more, almost like our dispersion pattern? Do we get more dispersion pattern this way or that way?
Horizontally.
So that's what I'm saying. I think you can go bigger with a scope versus taller but anyway. But yeah, masking would be a great solution to that. Mid-bass Maestro, how many speakers in your system? Ryam?
Not enough.
How many total do you have? What are you rocking?
So
how many bed layers?
11.
You have 11 bed layer?
Yep.
Holy cow.
2 15A Renaissance, 1 34C center, 6 EFX on walls, and then 2 ESLs in the rears for the bed layer. And then on the top, we've got 12.
What?
12.
Okay, it's been a year since I've been here.
We need to redo that video. What? I think you just come over and we do it ad hoc like we did last time and just go through everything because it's changed so much since you've been there. There's 12 on the ceiling. There's 7 Martin Logan C100 center channels, 5 35 XTIs. So I've got 6 tops, LCR heights, and then 2 rear heights and Voice of God. And then there's 5 4000 ULFs, 6 12-inch subs in the couch, and then 3 tactile transducers.
Man.
So I think it's like 30 channels,
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
I have a disease.
It's all good, man. You get your fix. AVH 700, appreciate it, man. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the live streams, we enjoy answering your questions. Hit the like button. I have no idea if it helps with the algorithm and YouTube and all that stuff, but hey,
Ivan came over on Saturday, so we watched The Covenant. That movie is phenomenal. The score in that movie,
Covenant. Who's that
amazing. Jake Gyllenhaal, is that who I'm thinking of?
I haven't seen it.
Guy Ritchie's The Covenant. It's fantastic. Covenant it is actually to me right now, and it may just be because I just watched it.
Okay.
It's one of the best war movies I've ever seen.
You know what? Okay. Yes. I want to see that.
The music in that movie,
I remember seeing the trailer for that.
50% of this experience. It is amazing.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah, so this guy right here. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I did see that trailer. So where did you watch it? I mean, like theater. What content was it? Kaleidoscope? Okay. I'll have to see if you can get it on. Man. So it was that good though.
It was amazing.
So action was solid. Oh crap, my bad.
Action was solid. Very few things can get me to like get the hair on my arms and stuff to stand up, and it did it. It was a fantastic experience.
Covenant.
I gotta put us back on the right side.
Yeah, Guy Ritchie Covenant. So I can get it in Blu-ray. They don't have it in 4K?
I don't know. I watched it in 4K. I think.
Blu-ray. Yeah, it's just Blu-ray. Yeah, it just shows Blu-ray. Yeah, I don't see it in 4K.
Let me see. Is it Covenant? Yeah, owned in 4K HDR.
I've turned into a 4K snob, man. It's like everything I buy.
Well, I guess you got to go buy a kaleidoscope.
All right, so there's another benefit that you get with kaleidoscope. Nice. He said it's on Prime. Yeah, I'll be honest, man. I don't like watching movies, like movies that I'm really excited about. I don't like streaming. Ambulance was good. Ryan mentioned that earlier. He said it was unnecessarily a lot of bass.
I like bass. It just seemed like it was unnecessary in some instances.
So don't say anything gimpy. Oh, that's right. My son was supposed to come over tonight and watch it. Doggone it.
I heard Extraction. The first Extraction was great.
It was awesome.
I went into not knowing what it was going to be about.
Yeah.
And
it was awesome.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jacob was supposed to come over tonight. we kept Roman, my grandson, so they can get a break. They're at the point now where they're like, he's 6 months old, 5 months, 6 months old, and they're like, this is exhausting. I'm like, yeah. Welcome to parenting, man.
Yeah.
So we're offering now to, to take him once a week. So we're like, could you keep him on Sundays? We're like, yeah, just bring him over. So they brought him over for a couple hours. And so, yeah, we were going to watch it tonight, but totally forgot. So yes, I want to see Extraction 2. First one was really good. Yeah. Yes, I'm not a big Amazon Prime guy, unless I'm just watching something with Jessica and it doesn't matter about the sound.
I think Francis is asking how long it took me to calibrate my room.
Mm-hmm.
All of my speakers are only time aligned. There's no calibration EQ on any of my speakers. Jonathan and I do the same thing. Our whole room is just time aligned. And then if your room's good enough and you measure and you position everything correctly, you really don't need a lot.
Right. Is Extraction just on Netflix? I believe so.
Right now it is.
Is it like an exclusive or is
I think right now it's an exclusive.
Yeah.
I think.
But it was solid on. I liked it, man. It's funny. Ivan said he watched Ambulance at Ian's house. We had to turn the hover base off about halfway through the movie.
It was a lot. Yeah. I was surprised my wife didn't tell me to turn it down. I thought what Ivan just said, Ivan said, I watched Ambulance at Ivan's house, like he was talking about himself in the third person.
About spit my drink. That's funny. Chris says, I agree, Ryan. The Covenant was the best war movie I've ever seen.
It's really good.
That's pretty cool. All right. So I might just have to order it.
It's really good.
It,
you can wait and we'll watch it at my house.
Yeah, true.
Just wait and I'll watch it again. It was that good. I will no problem watching it again.
All right. I'll wait till after I'm waiting to buy it. If it's great, I'll buy it.
Yeah. It's really good.
All right.
I'm a sucker for music and movies.
Yeah.
Like with scores and stuff, they really do it for me. And it's
well, I think that's the thing with music. Scores can totally make or break a movie. If it's done well, it's going to bring you into the movie. If
I can tell based on the intro score to a series if I'm going to like it or not.
Interesting. Yeah, Gibby said Netflix produced both Extraction movies. So yeah, it's going to be a Netflix exclusive.
So Fred says The Flash, since we're staying on topic of the movies, says The Flash was good.
Okay, cool.
I read today that it's not doing very well in the box office. Opening week, it only did like 55 million.
Yeah, I mean, that's so chump change.
Yeah. It finished under Black Adam.
Wow.
That's not good.
Okay. That's funny. Michael said, it was that good. I rented it, but I meant to buy it. That's awesome.
I guess a solid mistake or
yeah, sometimes. All right. So Fall says, I'm thinking about upgrading my speakers, thinking about switching out the center channel speaker to the same bookshelf as the rest of my speakers. Is that a good idea? So the first question is what speakers do you have?
Yeah.
Now ideally having like identical speakers, that's usually a great thing. And typically, not in all cases, but typically, horizontal speakers, center channel speakers are oftentimes a compromise. They have some issues. Aaron from Aaron's Audio Corner has a great video. I think it's called Why
Center Channels Suck.
Most Center Channels Suck. So go check out that video. And so if it's got that type of array of speakers on the center channel, it may not perform as good as the bookshelf from that speaker or from that series. So definitely take a look at that. But it all depends. But a lot of times a bookshelf speaker from that same series, yeah, that's a great idea because then you're identically matching. It's just 100% cohesive, and then you don't get some of the issues that you get with some horizontal center channel speakers. So good question there, man. Avatar: The Way of the Water is currently being played on Max.
My daughter's obsessed with that movie.
The first one was really good. I haven't seen the second one yet.
The second one's good. The visuals are amazing.
Will says The Shining has a good score as well.
There's a lot of movies that have good scores, but there's very few that can get the hair on my arms to stand up. And this one, Just how they did the sound and the music and stuff was so good. And the bass was really good with that score and stuff. It was just a great experience.
Yeah. Yeah, Phil, I haven't tried the BenQ 3000i. Ryan, do you have any experience with that one?
No.
Yeah. There was a question I saw earlier too. Okay, this is a good question. So it's gonna be hard, kind of arbitrary, but Sammy says, how much money would it take for a very immersive theater? So to me, if you're looking for immersion, I would start with a minimum of like a 5.1.4. So you'd have 5 speakers on your bed layer, 1 or more subwoofers, and then 4 Atmos or height speakers, or a 7.1.4. To me, that's kind of like the minimum if you really want a cohesive, immersive experience. But as far as immersive theater, depends on how many rows you have. It depends on how many seats you've got. It depends on how big your room is. I think there's definitely, it's going to be hard to say that. So that's just layout. But then as far as dollar wise, I can't throw out a number because there's a lot of components. You've got to buy an AVR that's got to process 7, 9, 11 speakers. You got your subwoofers. You've got, of course, all your speakers. Depends on what brand you go with. Depends on what model numbers you go with. That's a hard one,
So I think you could get by with a 5.1.2, 522. I wouldn't do 1 sub. I would do 2, because then you can get into like your entry level AVRs. They could be able to do it. I think you at least need to go dual 15s or dual 18s for your subs, because I think people vastly underestimate how important the low frequency and bass is. And it's a huge part of your experience. So if you're not able to pressurize your room, I think you need to really focus on that. But I think it takes a lot less than people may think. The display is going to eat up, I think, quite a bit of that.
Yeah,
$7,500.
When you're talking immersive, that's visually as well as audibly.
So in a small room, $5,000. I bet you could get it done.
Again, there's just so many pieces.
There's a lot of variables.
But if you're doing TV or you're doing ultra short throw,
you're just talking about equipment. I bet you could do it for $5,000.
Yeah,
bucks for immersive. But immersive is subjective.
100%.
Like, are you going to get the surround field that you have in a theater with a lot more bed channels or something? No, but it'd be a good experience.
Yeah, Michael's recommended. Excuse me. Where was it at? Oh yeah, he said, I believe you can get an extremely immersive experience with a Nakamichi Shockwave. So this is a soundbar, 9.2.4, $1,900, $1,900. Does come with dual subs. Scroll down here.
Ivan says, don't let me talk you into subs. I have 5 the size of a refrigerator. I just said you could get 15s.
Yeah.
Not that those are small, but they're not, 4,000 ULFs.
For sure. Yeah. Honestly, Fred, I'm not a big fan of home theater in a box. To me, a lot of those belong in a box in the garage.
Or in the trash.
They just don't perform well. Usually most home theater in a box is a very, very underpowered AVR, and it's some really, really cheap speakers. Some really cheap speakers. So if you're going to spend $300, $400, $500 on a whole system, yeah, you're not going to, I would not expect for him to get what he considers a really immersive experience. I just don't see that happening. Gimpy, I'm not sure what this was. $14,500. What was that for? Maybe he was talking about extraction. No, I don't know. Okay, cool. So Fall says that he just watched Aaron's center channel video and the sound dispersion is better on the bookshelf. Good. Very cool. I'm planning on switching from the Polk T15 to the Polk XT20s. Very cool. Yeah, Aaron's a great dude. So he was going to be at M-Wave, but he's got some family stuff that he's trying to take care of and spend some time with his daughter. He is going to be at well, he's at least potentially right now, he's going to be at the Audio Advice Live. So hopefully he'll be able to make it to that. We'll get to hang out again like we did last year. Great dude, but he's got some great content on his channel. Yeah.
Sony 790. Oh, you already did that one.
What's that?
This question, did you already do that question?
Mm-mm.
Is that a question?
No. Yeah. Sony 790 and Polk XT series 5.2.1 or 7.1 is good for the money. Yeah. So that's his recommendation. I'd go with 5.1.2. I don't know. I'm a big fan of 4 Atmos speakers versus 2. So, and part of that depends on if you only have one row, you can make it happen, but I still think you need a decent amount of dispersion. Depends on how high your ceilings are, because the shorter your ceilings, the less dispersion you're going to have at your listening position. So I think it can work, but I definitely like recommending 4 Atmos speakers or height speakers. So, yeah, so Zombie says 5,000 is a good starting point for an immersive sound system. Adding sound absorption panels can add a lot too. Would I be okay buying refurb Klipsch towers directly from Klipsch? Again, I mean, when you're buying refurb, I would much rather buy it from the manufacturer because they have all the original parts. They have all the tech. They've got all the, I mean, they're going to go through it and figure out, okay, what wasn't working? What isn't measuring right? Replace that with parts that do work well and measure right. And then you're going to get a warranty from them of some degree. I wouldn't have a problem buying a refurb from any company for the most part. So, especially if you got a warranty with that. So Michael, he's wanting that Nakamichi bad. He's like, if you can wait till the Nakamichi Dragon 11.4.6. I'll be honest, man. I am so skeptical. Now, can you get a good sound from a really high performance soundbar? Maybe. I just don't see how my brain is going to feel like I've got 11 bed layer speakers, 4 subwoofers, and 6 overhead.
You can't call something 11 bed layer when it's all one out of one soundbar.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't see how effectively my brain is going to go, oh yeah, I'm getting this completely, can it be partially believable? Yeah. Can it provide a great sound? Sure. I just don't see how that's possible.
To me, it's not. I mean, I challenge anybody. Let me rephrase this by saying there is a place for sound bars.
Yeah, 100%.
I had a sound bar in my living room for a long time before I was a dealer, and then I became a dealer, and then I got to be able to show stuff. So now I've got towers in my living room to be able to show things and provide a different demo environment. Sound bars have a place. They do a great job if you know where you want to put them and what their limitations are. But if you take something like that, and I'm going to call it out, if you take something like that Nakamichi, right, and then put it into a dedicated theater that's properly set up, not even with really expensive stuff that has a solid bed layer, it is going to annihilate that sound bar. Now, granted, for $1,800,
well, the one is $3,500, the Dragon.
Oh,
yeah, $3,500 for the Dragon. So, and again, I'm not saying it's a bad sound bar. I just don't think it's. I'm with Ryan. I just don't see how my brain is going to hear 11 bed layer speakers and 6 overhead speakers.
No,
I just don't see how that's possible.
Maybe in a perfect room for the bouncy house speakers. The other thing you got to remember is that the drivers on those sound bars are so small.
These are probably a little bit bigger. Let me look. Nakamichi drag. I mean, it's a big sound bar. All right, let's just see. Let's pull it up here. Let's pull it up here. Let's have some fun, Ryan.
No.
Let's entertain the thought. Nakamichi Dragon. Let's see what this bad boy's got. All right, so 11.4.6.
I bet you those are 2-inch drivers.
All right, so he says 2 inch. Let's see what we got here. We got 14 speakers. Okay.
It's using
So
AMTs.
so you can see we've got
that.
some upfiring here. Let's see what it says. Doesn't say how big they are. Let's look here. We got quad subwoofers. So these are 8-inch subwoofers. So I wouldn't expect massive output from these. Being dual 8s.
Quad sub.
Okay, so they are adding some surround effects, like surround speakers. So that's good. So it's not just a sound bar. So that's good. But again, I'm kind of skeptical on this whole, I'm going to get 6 overhead speakers from Bounce House speakers. All right, let's look at where expand all. Okay, so these are whopping 3-inch drivers. There's 10 of them. Then you got 4 3-inch dual angled upfiring speakers.
But there's 10 of those 3-inch drivers, but they're all doing different things. It's not like they're supporting each other.
Right, correct.
So,
but I mean, 3-inch drivers, I mean, that's not something to, yeah. So again, I mean, that's, like I said, can this be impressive for a soundbar? 100%.
Oh, for sure.
Is this going to replace dedicated speakers placed in the right locations in your room? I just don't see it happening, guys.
Is it great for the average Joe to get a better than TV experience? For sure.
It's probably a great experience, you know? But like I said, I just don't see how effectively. All right, so
sorry, I'm not sure.
Yeah, even Siri doesn't know.
Yeah, she was like, sorry, I'm not sure. That was perfect. Thank you so much. But that's just my opinion, guys. Take it for what it's worth. If that's what you want to go with and that rocks your socks off, then man, absolutely, man. I'm cheering you on. I think it's amazing. I just don't see physically how my brain is going to hear sound pan from 2 front speakers, middle, then to the back. Let's say Top Gun, you're listening to a plane fly overhead. They got to be doing some crazy trickery with that. Ask ChatGPT. I don't think ChatGPT is gonna help in that respect. So, but like I said, I mean, I think I love what they're doing with technology. I just don't think that, and I don't want to say size matters, but size does. I mean, you're talking 3-inch drivers. They're physics alone is going to determine what those speakers are capable of. I mean, that's just, yeah. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, so Andy says the decoder chips for Atmos can be sometimes super slow on soundbars. So hopefully with, this nicer higher end soundbar, they've got some workarounds for that and improved that. What's Bonez? Oh. Come on, Bruce. That's hilarious. All right. Wise Bonez says some budget friendly AVR suggestions for a 7.2.4 system. Talking about $1,000, maybe $1,500. What's he looking at there? 7.2.4. So we're talking an 11.2 channel AVR.
2,800
$1,500. What's that?
2,800H.
Will it do 11.2 though?
No.
That's the thing. That's this requirement.
The closest you're going to be able to get there is the 3,800H, and you'd have to have an amp. That's it.
Yeah, 3,800H is a 9.4. So yeah, so you'll have to have so it'll process 11, power 9. So then you'd have to have but what is the MSRP on that one?
1,700.
Okay, 1,700. So that, see, above his budget.
That's as close as you're going to get.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Onkyo or somebody else has something that's a little bit closer, but I mean, I've always had phenomenal luck with Denon and Marantz. So
they've been solid.
They're my tried and true.
Right. That Adji kid. What I need to look for after 5.1 when considering buying an AVR. I'm so new to this, man. I'm glad you're new to it. You've come to the right place, doing your research, watching as many videos as you can, searching online. All right, so he's got a 5.1. So there's a lot of directions you can go. So 5.1, you've got 5 bed layer speakers. So some guys will add, want to go to Atmos. They want to go to height speakers above you. So that would be like installing 2 or maybe 4 speakers above you. Some people want to add 7 bed layer speakers, whether that's 2 front wides or 2 surround back speakers. So that would be like a 7.1.4. So there's definitely a lot of things there. So if you've got just a 5.1 AVR, probably the biggest thing that you're going to hear or biggest difference you're going to have, especially if it's an older AVR, is if that older AVR didn't have what they call like high definition audio. If it didn't process like Dolby True HD, DTS Master, those were the first kind of like high resolution audio formats in the surrounds field. Then we went to Dolby Atmos. So I think those are going to be a significant improvement if you've got a really old AVR that doesn't have like high resolution audio. But again, so upgrading that, the new modern AVRs are going to have X amount of HDMI inputs. So depending on what you're connecting to it, Apple 4K TV, maybe you got a PS5 or an Xbox 360, those types of things. If you're hooking a gaming system up to it, sometimes HDMI 2.1 is a big deal for you, possibly. If you need to have like 4K 120 hertz, so you're going to need an HDMI AVR that handles HDMI 2.1. So honestly, there's a lot of information there, and I know that's kind of like drinking out of a fire hose. But really just got to think through like what all do you need in an AVR. Think about how many speakers you think you're going to add in your room, and then start looking for receivers that fit in your budget that have those amount of channels, and then just look at what features it offers. Like one important feature to me, if I want to stream music, it's nice to have something that has like AirPlay capability so that I can stream from my Apple, whether it's my phone or my tablet, into my system and be able to listen to music that way. So that's important to me. It might not be important to you. So there's a lot of different things there. Ryan, what else am I forgetting?
I don't think anything.
I mean, there's a lot to that. I mean, there's power, like, of course, the budget friendly AVRs are going to not have as big of a power supply. So how efficient are your speakers? So there's definitely a lot of things. Another thing that I would highly recommend is buy an AVR that has pre-outs for all of those channels. And the biggest reason is down the road, most guys, when they go along this journey, at some point, they're going to want to consider the possibility of adding an amplifier. And if your AVR doesn't have pre-outs, then you're not going to have that ability. Most AVRs, they all have pre-outs for your subwoofers, but not all of them have pre-outs for all of your speakers. And so if you want to be able to do that, so those are just some suggestions. But definitely there's that's a pretty extensive, there's a lot.
Almost like you should do a video on that.
Could be, what are some things to look at, if you've got an older AVR, possibly. Man, I got a lot of videos I got to make. I got to get these reviews out of here, man. I don't know how many speakers, but Martin Logan just sent me their new Motion series speakers, a whole system, dude. So I'll be doing a series of videos on that. We're going to have those at M-Wave. Martin Logan's going to have an actual dedicated theater room with the Motion series, I believe, right, Ryan?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have them there at M-Wave. So hopefully I'll be able to get it kind of set up and here even before M-Wave, and then I kind of compare how they set it up and how I've got it. Mine's in a living room environment, so it's not 100% ideal acoustically, but it's all good.
All right, I'm going to stop starring speakers now.
All right, cool.
Questions.
All right, so we'll hit the last 5 here. So the T, appreciate the $20 super chat. I currently have 4 EAW 18s behind the screen with 2 QSC 1500A amps. Recently picked up 4 dual 15 JBLs. So he's got a total of 8 15s. Holy cow. Ryan, you would be proud. So Ryan, will I pick up that much more bass by adding these 8 15s 1200 watt per gallon. Holy cow.
Yes.
So he's addicted like you.
What is an EAW?
So he's got a total, and I'm gonna look up these JBLs. JBL 40. Is that the cheap ones that always go on sale?
No, these are 15s.
Okay.
Oh, these are all pro subs.
Put your screen up. Let's see.
I'm still trying to find this 18. I don't know which version it is.
He's got EAW 18.
Yeah, but I don't know which version of the EAW 18. So he's going to be looking at a frequency responsive down to the high 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So probably more similar or akin to what you're going to get out of like a traditional movie theater. Do you need it? Because I'm sure those EAWs are not lacking.
He says the Cinema series is what he's got.
Cinema series.
EAW Cinema 18s.
You feel like you're missing something? I mean, your frequency response is probably going to be better. I don't know where the cinemas are on this page. So it's probably going to help your frequency response, but man, those EAWs, I mean, they go up to like 140 dB.
So a lot of output.
Yeah, I mean.
So you're saying that he may not add as far as output.
Yeah, I mean, you will.
Not much benefit, maybe.
But
the 815 is still a lot, though. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So he's talking about adding 8 more because he's got 8 now, and he says, "Will I pick up that much more bass adding?" Oh, adding these. Okay.
Chasing Scott Newby.
Oh, man, you got to do more than 15. So that he's on a whole nother level.
I think it'll do something. Are they all sealed? I would hope.
The JBL 46, 48. 46.
He's got 8 total subs. I mean, it'll help your frequency response. Depending on how you have this set
up. These are ported subs.
They're all ported?
Mm-hmm. Let me share my screen.
The EAWs are ported or the JBLs are ported?
I'm sorry, the JBLs. So these are rated. It's tuned to 40 hertz. Where's the frequency response? Am I missing it? Oh, here we go. No. I don't even see the frequency response.
It's 40 hertz. That's where the ports are tuned to.
But I mean, you would think it would extend somewhat. Well, yeah. Yeah, a lot of times with your pro audio, they're not going to dig super deep for sure.
Nope.
So, I mean, they usually have a ton of output because they're made for venues. They're usually in big, areas, auditoriums, concert halls, things like that. So they need a lot of output, but they don't necessarily need to drop down to 20 hertz, 10 hertz, 5 hertz.
Well, you can't. They wouldn't be able to keep up with that amount of output. They'd need huge amounts of power, and the drivers would be enormous.
Yeah.
Super cool, the T. I want to see pictures.
Yeah, definitely. If you go with it. So I don't know. So he's got them, though. He picked up 4 15s. So he's got a total of 8 15s. Okay. Man. Yeah, that's a lot of subwoofage. All right. Great question. Eric, let me hide this one. Eric says, Ryan, how'd you make the transition becoming a dealer?
I was born a dealer.
He said,
how did I make the transition, or what's the story about me becoming a dealer? Is that what this is, what I'm assuming?
I think so. From maybe like your regular job to being a dealer full time.
So I got in a motorcycle accident and was out of commission fully on disability for several years. Wasn't able to work, had some brain problems, still kind of do, but needed to find something else because I wasn't going to be able to go back and do what I did before. Plus, it was destroying my body. I didn't like sitting behind a desk. So I bought home theater stuff. I've always been into home theater. And I'd always had really bad experiences with dealers and people that I was buying gear from. It just never went really well. And I was always really tired of that. And I could never find somebody that I really, really liked working with. So I reached out to Youthman, unrelated, and decided that I wanted to have him come in for a home theater tour because I just built my home theater, not what it is now, but when he made the video on it and the end of 2021. And when he came in, for whatever reason, I decided that I was actually going to try. Because it's getting close to my bedtime. I was going to try and become a dealer. And I actually filled out the dealer paperwork in the basement while they were filming Jonathan's home theater tour. So when that video is being made, I'm filling out all of my tax information and licensing to become a small business owner. So that's really where that came from. And then my home theater, because it's all Masterpiece Martin Logan stuff, it allowed me to get in with Martin Logan and gave me a leg up instead of starting at like a CI level. So that's really where it came from. And then I just pride myself on trying to be a dealer and communicate to a level that I would have wanted when I was going through the whole process of building a home theater, and try and not do the things that those dealers did so that I can deliver to my customers. They have a good experience. So they recognize that I'm not in this to try and make a bunch of money. I'm in this to try and share the space of home theater and share my passion for it so that they can get in and potentially enjoy the same things that I do. That's really the crux of it. I got tired of dealing with other poopy people and decided to do it myself.
He says nice origin story like Spider-Man, but less webs.
It's an interesting analogy.
Yeah. So Ryan's a straight up guy. Yeah. And the good thing is he's not going to jerk you around. He's going to give you his honest opinion. You know, if he doesn't think you need a massive amplifier for your setup, he's not going to try to sell you a massive amplifier. You know,
I do tell people no. Don't do that. I mean, I'll sell it to you if you really want it, but I'll tell you, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't spend money that I've already spent. There's no reason to.
For sure. Yeah, so if you need pricing on anything, you can check out his website, ascendav.net. Shows all the brands that he is a dealer for, and it's quite extensive.
You just built that webpage.
I did.
Plug to Michael.
It's all good. Ain't about me, man. Ain't about me. Yeah.
Well, I couldn't do it. It would have looked terrible if I did.
I think it looks pretty awesome, though.
It does.
Shall we look at it together?
I guess.
Let's send AV down there. Let's see. Let's see who he's a dealer for. All right. Let's go to our partners. If I can click on it.
Does that link even work?
There we go. Yep.
That would have been embarrassing.
Nah. So a bunch of different things. And so I've created all the different, so you can click speakers and see what all speakers he's got. He's got lighting, headphones, furniture, seating. If you need a projector, you want some network and security, some racks. Ryan's got great racks. Just kidding. That's terrible. Tactile transducers, or you can click all and see all of them. And then if you go to each one of it, so this is what took the longest, is having to go to like creating a page, not only this, but then also creating, okay, let's go to JVC's page. So now they have an actual page on his site, and then adding, links to their website, some of the products that they sell. So I did that for each one of these, man. Power Shades actually has a really cool one. I think this is the one I was thinking of. Yeah, they had like some of these websites though. I was borrowing images from them, and they just don't have a whole lot on their website. Maybe this wasn't the one I was thinking of, but one of them has just like beautiful imagery, and I'm like, man, that's the way you represent your website. I think Salamander had a good one, but anyway, so if you need something, go check it out. Nicely done, Youth Man. So I do more than just YouTube. So I develop websites as well. Let's see. Eric, appreciate the $10 super chat. Thank you. Always a pleasure listening in on Sundays, man. Appreciate you hanging out with us, buddy. So we have a lot of fun. We try to answer as many questions as we can. I know we can't get to all of them. We're right at about 2 hours, so we'll wrap it up here. I think did we answer all of them, Ryan? Hang on. This one I don't know if there's a great question for. There's never a best crossover for any speaker. Your room's going to be dependent.
Ideally you want it all the same.
Yeah, your speakers, what they're capable of, that could determine. So my best advice is run your auto correction. Whether you got Direct Live, Odyssey, Wapao, and it'll determine a decent crossover for those speakers. And honestly, I'd just let it ride. A couple more. I'm looking for speakers. I'm doing a 7.2.6, doing in-walls for, yeah, see, you lied to me, man. You said, oh, I'm not starring anymore, and then it keeps starring stuff.
No, this was already starred.
I see another one from Andy down there, dude. I didn't star that.
Whatever. I did. I lied.
We're having fun, though. So I'm doing in-walls for the front LCR behind a projection screen and surround backs only. There's a window on one side, so the sides are not in-wall. So he's looking for speakers. Honestly, whatever brand that you're going with, I would try to stick with that same brand. I've got a window on one side as well, so I wouldn't be able to do in-walls. I actually had a steel bar fabricated. A friend of mine made one, so it comes down in front of the window and has a flat plate on it, and then I can mount a speaker to that. So I've got my JTR speakers mounted to that. So you might have to get creative there to put it over on that window. Yeah, so you're probably going to be looking at like a bookshelf speaker or a wide dispersion speaker, just depending on what brand you went with. So, but I would recommend, sticking with that same brand.
If you want to talk about brands, feel free to reach out. That can get very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain brands that can work better in certain applications.
Monson says, which one do you choose? Xbox Series X or a PS5? So that's a loaded question. I went with PS5 just because I like the game selection better. I've always owned a PS5 or PS. Not always. I've owned like a PS3, PS4, and then a PS5. So I think game selection is going to be a big thing. The online capability, they both have pluses and minuses. I think you're going to have to do your research. Xbox does native Dolby Atmos. PS5 does not, which they were dumb. I don't know why they think that their spatial audio is so special. But hopefully with the PS6, maybe they'll introduce Atmos. So I don't think there's a best, but I chose PS5. Ryan, do you have both?
Just PS5.
Okay.
I don't like what all the ads and stuff have turned into on the Xbox.
Yeah, I was never a big Halo fan, so I didn't get into that. And so their exclusive video or their exclusive games for their platform, I just never really cared for those. PS5 had things like I was about to say Gran Turismo, but is that one both platforms?
Gran Turismo?
Yeah, or is that
no?
PS5? Okay.
PlayStation only.
So I love Gran Turismo. I've played a bunch of different variants of that. But yeah, to me, I've always been a PS kind of guy. All right. Does Ryan sell Kaleidoscope, and is it worth it over UHD 4K Blu-ray? So you a dealer for Kaleidoscope?
Maybe. Yes. Kaleidoscope is worth it if you value ease of access and you just want things that are going to work, right? So are you going to see a fidelity difference between Kaleidoscope and physical media? Maybe on really big titles. by really big titles, I mean really long titles, like Avatar or the other Avatar. Anything that's like 3 hours plus that I really can't think of right now. Maybe because you're not having to deal with compression that you would on a physical disc. So there's potential there. On your average disc in comparison, no, probably not. But the thing that you're really getting is ease of access and usability. I mean, it's so nice to just be like, oh, I want that movie, and go get it.
Kind of spoil you.
It does. It absolutely does. And to be able to go select that collection without really, I despise physical media. Some people like it. I really don't. I like being able to see all of the media in one place and having access to it all at the same time. Plus, there's really cool things that you can do with demos with scripts. So you can take demo pieces from each individual piece of content and script them together into demo reels. So that's super cool. You get early access to things. Like I've had access to Covenant for a couple weeks before it came out on disc. I had access to Top Gun Maverick 3 months before it came out on disc. I had Avatar before it came out. So it's beneficial. So
you just saved him 10 grand.
Yeah, there you go. So if there's no real fidelity difference except on the longer stuff. Yeah. Maybe it's measurable. You can't see it though from your seating position.
Yeah. I think it all, to me, it comes down to convenience. It comes down to, like you said, it just works. It's smooth. It's got a great user interface. It's beautiful. But you can get I mean, if you don't mind putting in a disc and you got a quality player, then you're going to get a great sound and great picture from it for sure. It was something. Okay. C. Goddard says, any specifics as far as schedule for M-Wave? We do have a schedule for M-Wave on there. We still have to add things like we're still confirming some of the seminars. So those will need to be specific schedules. So those will be on the website as soon as we get those sorted out. This year looks a lot different than our first year. Our first year was very schedule driven. It was, okay, at this time, we're going to be doing this, and we're going to be doing a projector comparison for these 4 hours. And we had probably about 75 people there. So we split them into 2 groups. So one group was going to be in the projector comparison while the other group was, so we were swapping back and forth, or speaker comparison, or room AV or room correction comparison, things like that. So this year, number one, we knew our attendance was going to grow. So we've doubled that. So we're probably about 150 attendees, not counting the vendors.
There'll be more there than that.
So it's going to be close to 200 probably, what we've got there.
No, they'll be over that.
So so to accommodate that, it's really hard to kind of micromanage, you're going to be here, you're going to be here. And then the other thing we thought of is that not everybody's there for the same reasons. Some people come because, man, I just want to hear this brand because I'm thinking about building a theater around this brand and I want to hear what it can sound like. And so maybe you're going to spend a lot of time, checking out the speakers and listening to those and really just demoing those as much as you can. Maybe the seminars you're not really interested in. Maybe you're coming because you're thinking about either upgrading your projector, or maybe you're buying your projector for the first time and you want to make sure that you're making the best informed decision. And so maybe for you're wanting to see the projector comparison. You want to see some of these side by side on a large screen to see, okay, is there a $4,000 difference between this and this, or a $10,000 difference? And should I go that direction? And so everybody's coming for different reasons. So, and we know as this event grows, we need to be more flexible with that. So the schedule per se, there'll be some set things, but a lot of it is literally you make this event what you want it to be. If you want to spend a lot of time just going through certain demos or doing this and that, we want it to be the most value for you and for your needs. Ryan, thoughts on that?
No, you got them all.
So, and some of the stuff Ryan's still figuring out. He's like, all right, where am I going to put this? How am I going to make that work? And So, but yeah, but bottom line, we're gonna have a lot of fun though. So, but yeah, the schedule will be updated before you get there. You'll know exactly what that's going to look like. So the hard part is, I mean, number one, this is our second year doing this. Number two is we're still trying to figure out like what works best. And because we've changed to a completely different venue, this is almost like a new experience in a way. So there are going to be some challenges with this, but we are super, super excited about it. It's going to be a blast. So if you're wanting to come, we've got information on the website, Midwest AV Experience. We'd love to have you. Only 24 days left, man. We are right around the corner from it. And the dates on that's July the 14th through the 16th. So it's going to be super, super cool. Did I hit all? You know what, so. Dude? There's a glitch on my end. Unless, let me see.
I don't have any more questions. No.
You don't see any star? Okay, so maybe it only pops up. But I don't have any tabs up there. Do you have any tabs? I don't have any tabs.
No, they went away.
Live and starred?
Well, there's nothing starred. Like now you probably have a tab.
Okay. So it just appeared. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel better now, but it didn't do that last week. It got jacked up. So cool. Will M-Wave be streaming live? The short answer is no. Number one, it's impossible to do a 3-day event streaming. Will there be some live streaming at M-Wave? Absolutely. FOMO as well as Brian are both going to be co-hosting a live stream. I think they're going to be doing, is it the projector comparison again?
And TVs, yeah.
And TVs. So they'll be kind of hosting that. So definitely make sure you're following FOMO. Last year we were supposed to stream both to FOMO's channel and my channel simultaneously. I got logged into his StreamYard account, but he forgot to click stream to Youthman. So yeah, exactly. SRW 1000 said last year's live streaming was really nice. FOMO did an incredible job, so he's going to kill it again. But we'll try to get that streamed on both of our platforms. But definitely follow his channel, Stop the FOMO. He does a great job, as well as Brian. And we've even got a list of content creators on the website. So if you go to midwestavexperience.com, pull this up real quick. Share. So Brian was just added this week. FOMO told me he was going to come and help him out. So up here, you can click on creators. And so we've got FOMO's going to be here. Kyle from Life of Bliss. He's actually building out some GSG subwoofers. Chris Majestic's going to be there. Brian Stout. Brian does a ton on Instagram. To me, he's like the AV Instagram like go-to dude, man. He's got a great eye for photography and loves all things AV. Brad from Home Theater Gamer is going to be there. Jordan, Haterade Cowboy Cinema. Brian from Brian's Tech Therapy. And that goofy old dude, Youthman's going to be there as well. And we may have some other content creators there too, but these are the ones that I'm aware of. And but we're going to have a great time, man. It's going to be super fun. Super fun, super fly. So yeah. I haven't listened to Harbottle or Funk Audio. Heard good things about them. They're definitely kind of on the higher end. I think from what I've seen, measurement-wise, performance-wise, they're definitely on the level of like a JTR, something along that line. But they make nicer boxes and cabinets, and there's a pretty good premium for that. So, but they measure well from what I've seen. I just haven't had any experience with either one of those. Yeah, 100%, Michael. Everyone's disposable income is different. For sure. All right, man. Woo-woo. M-Wave. JD, you and your dad need to be there, man.
Make it happen.
Did you ever say that you were coming, JD? Let me know. I know you were thinking about it, you and your dad. We'd love to have y'all out. It'd be super fun. So, well, cool, man. We're a little bit over 2 hours. Hopefully these live streams are helpful to you, answering your questions, plus just hanging out, man. It's always great. If you want to hang out in person, like I said, we've got M-Wave coming up. I'll also be attending the Audio Advice Live in, August. So that's going to be great. I'll be at CEDIA if you're coming to CEDIA. So Ryan's like at every trade show.
Mm-hmm.
can always find him somewhere. Yeah, it is expensive. So that's the, sorry about that. So it is expensive. The hard thing is, the biggest thing is like your hotel expense, your flights. You know, that's a big thing. You got food for, you know, several days. So it definitely is not, it's an investment, that's for sure. But especially for people that are building a theater room, you know, to be able to get access, because let's face it, where can you go that you can put 2 TVs side by side? Where can you go to put 2 projectors side by side? Where can you go to hear some speakers side by side, or get access to some cool home theaters to be able to experience what a really nice Dolby Atmos system sounds like? Where can you go to get a Per Listen, a JTR, a Martin Logan, SVS, and experience a Dolby Atmos system? And much less one, but we've got multiple of them. And so if you're building out a home theater and you just want some personal experience with these brands and with these types of experiences, Enway is the place to be. We're trying to make something that really you can't get anywhere else. So another $20 super chat. Appreciate that. The T, Ryan, the 18s are at 29 hertz. A staring, what is that one?
Staring at 3K.
Oh,
to run electric to these.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he's got $3,000. He's going to need to invest in upgrading his electric. He's got, man, that's a lot. Would it be good just to shoot you an email and give you like all the specs that he's got?
Probably.
Because he already bought them though, right?
That's what I thought, but maybe he's thinking about reselling them.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if you've already got them implement, well, I see what he's saying. He's asked to upgrade his. Yeah, so maybe he's trying to figure out, you know, do I really go forward through this? Because I've got to upgrade my electrical to make it happen. Man, it's a slippery slope, man. You can go as deep into this hobby as you want, adding, you know, tons and tons and tons. All right, what is this? Michael, just offer up your basement floor? Is that for me? Or was that the other Michael?
Or I don't have a
yeah, I don't have basement, dude. Yeah. We live in Florida.
Flood.
Yeah. Yeah. It's called an aquarium. Yeah. Because I mean, is it called the aquifer? It's basically where the water table is underneath is so, you know, low because we're on a peninsula. So we're surrounded by water. Oh, I see. He said for JD Expert to sleep. Yeah. I mean, the reality is if he wants to sleep in my basement in Florida, he's a long ways away from Kansas. So yeah. Gotcha. Yes, I want you to, man. Like I said, I think it's one of those things that it's going to be an experience that you can't get anywhere else. I really, really believe that. That's what we're striving for. And so, but like I said, it takes some saving up. It's like anything, you know, and the reality is you've got, you know, family vacations you got to save up for and things like that. But I think it's something that'd be really, really cool experience for you and your dad to experience, especially if both of you are into home theater. So there you go. Yeah, if you're in Florida, hit me up. So maybe we can meet up somewhere or have you over. So at least get to hear the JTRs. It'd be fun. So yeah, shoot me a message on Facebook or email. All right, man. All right. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. Hope you enjoyed it. We do this every Sunday night, and we just have a lot of fun. M-Wave, man, it's exciting. We got lots of stuff to do. 3 weeks left, Ryan. We're going to make it happen. It's going to be a blast. He's sweating. But he was, yeah, it was funny last year watching you. I'm hyped, man. I'm like, what's up, guys? Glad you're here. And he's like,
I'm having a panic attack.
Stuff ain't working. Where are these cables? What's happening? But in all fairness, last year we didn't have any days to set up. We set up on a Friday. The event started Friday night.
We have 3 days to set up this year, so that'll be much less stressful. Which reminds me, I need to get that list of cables to Hobie. Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow on the plane.
All right, man.
All right, guys. Fun as always.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. See you guys later.